I'm reading a sample of a wage deduction authorization agreement. This information can be found for free on the Texas Workforce Commission website. This video is part of a series I will be doing exploring the sample documents on the TWC website. All of this information is found on the Texas Workforce Commission, the TWC website. Use the information in this video as a guide to help your company create its own unique employment documents. And there are also a few caveats I would like to discuss. Number one, I am not an attorney. I will be reading everything as it is written on the TWC website and adding my own comments and suggestions. Also, I suggest that once you create your company's unique employment documents, please have them reviewed by a licensed employment attorney. Note for employers: Texas Payday Law Rule 821.28b requires written authorization for deductions to be as specific as possible as to the amount and purpose of the deduction, and to make it clear that the deductions will be made from the employee's wages. Rule 821.28d requires deductions to be applied to their intended purposes. When drafting such an agreement, try to be specific enough to where a reasonable employee would be able to predict how much a particular deduction would be in a particular situation. Let's begin reading the sample form on the TWC website. Wage Deduction Authorization Agreement. I understand and agree that my employer, insert your company name, may deduct money from my pay from time to time for reasons that fall into the following categories. Number one, my share of the premiums for the company's group medical and dental plan. 2, any contributions I make into a retirement or pension plan sponsored, controlled, or managed by the company. I'm going to stop right here. If you have other deductions unique to your company, this is where you want to add specifically the name of that deduction. 3, installment payments on loans or wage advances given to me by the company, and if there is a balance remaining when I leave the company, the balance of such loans or advances. 4, installment payments on loans based upon store credit that I use for my own personal purchases, including the value of merchandise or services that I purchase or have purchased for personal, non-business reasons using my employee charge account or credit card, an account or credit card assigned to another employee, or a general company account or credit card, regardless of whether such purchase was authorized. And if there is a balance remaining when I leave the company, the balance of such store credit or charges. I'm going to stop right here. If you loan money to an employee and you say, okay, let's use payroll deductions for you to pay the money back, I would also include a promissory note. That way, if the employee leaves your company, you will be able to have another document that says, hey, you still owe me money, and you can pursue them in small claims court. 5, if I receive an overpayment of wages for any reason, repayment to the company of such overpayments, the deduction for such a repayment will equal the entire amount of the overpayment unless the company and I agree in writing to a series of smaller deductions in specific amounts. 6, the cost to the company of personal long-distance calls I may make or messages I may send using company phones, that's either landline or cellular phones, and you'll need to include that in the parentheses, or company accounts, of personal faxes sent by me using company equipment or company accounts, or of non-work related access to the internet or other computer networks by me using company equipment or company accounts. 7. The cost of repairing or replacing any company supplies, materials, equipment, money, or other property that I may damage other than normal wear and tear, and you have to put that in parentheses, lose, fail to return, or take without appropriate authorization from the company during my employment, except in the case of misappropriation of money by me. I understand that no such deduction will take my pay below minimum wage, or if I am a salaried exempt employee, reduce my salary below its predetermined amount. And on the TWC website, there is an asterisk by number 6. And that asterisk states the following: deductions for this purpose that take the pay below minimum wage or that cut into an exempt salaried employee's salary are allowed only in the case of misappropriation of money by the employee. In addition, the employer must be able to prove that the employee was personally responsible for the misappropriation. So you just can't, just because you have number 7 written in your wage deduction authorization agreement, you have to prove that the employee did in fact take the money. And I mean hard proof, proof that will stand up to the Texas payday law and any court of law. Number 8, the cost of company uniforms and of cleaning the uniforms. The company will deduct only the actual price it pays for uniforms and cleaning costs. Now, there are 2 asterisks next to this one. So let's scroll down and see what those say. Caution: this is a type of deduction that is strongly restricted by federal wage and hour regulations. And there's a reference to a provision for uniform cost deductions in Part 531 of the regulations, Title 29 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 531. And there's also another section, Section 30C12 of the Department of Labor's Field Operations Handbook. So if you want more information, those are the sections and those are the areas you need to go to further research number 8. Number 9, the reasonable cost of fair value, whichever is less, of meals, lodging, and other facilities furnished to me by the company in connection with my employment. And there is an asterisk. There are 3 asterisks next to this one. See Part 531 of the Wage and Hour Regulations, as well as Section 30C00 through 30C09 of the Field Operations Handbook. Number 10, administrative fees in connection with court-ordered garnishments or legally required wage attachments of my pay, limited in extent to the amount or amounts allowed under applicable laws. What this means is when you're doing a court-ordered garnishment, there is a maximum amount that your company can deduct for administrative fees related to the company being in compliance with the courts. Number 11, if I take paid vacation or sick leave in advance of the date I would normally be entitled to it, and I separate from the company before accruing time to cover such advance leave, the value of such leave taken in advance that is not so covered. So if you have an employee who uses a lot of vacation time and you front them some vacation time and they leave the company before they're able to accrue that amount back, you can take that part out as a wage deduction. Number 12, the value of any time off for absences to which paid leave is not applied, except in the case of those who are paid a fixed salary for fluctuating work weeks. Non-exempt salaried employees will have all such unpaid leave deducted from their salary, while exempt salaried employees will experience salary reductions only in units of a full day or full week at a time, depending on the exact nature of the absence unless partial day deductions are specifically allowed under federal law. And number 13, if my employer pays any insurance premiums or retirement system contributions on my behalf that I would normally make under the applicable company benefit plan, the amount of such payments made by the company, such payments being in advance of future wages payable to me. And finally, number 14, any other items appropriate for your company situation. Go over this with your attorney. Again, so if you have some unique deductions to your company that the employees make, you will start adding those to this form. To sum it up, at the end of the form, I agree that the company may deduct money from my pay under the above circumstances or if any of the above situations occur. I further understand that the company has stated its intention to abide by all applicable federal and Texas wage and hour laws, and that if I believe that any such laws have not been followed, I have the right to file a wage claim with appropriate Texas and federal agencies. And then there's a signature for the employee, there's a date, there's a place for the employee's name to be printed, a signature line for the company representative, and a date. I can't say this enough. If you use any type of document in your company that requires signatures from all parties, be sure your company representative signs off on the document and put the date, because unsigned documents have trouble when they are presented to a court of law or a state employment agency. This wage deduction authorization agreement is used in conjunction with other documents. More will be discussed in future videos in this series. Now, I'm going to explain to you when your company decides to use these types of forms. That's not enough. What you need to also have is an employment policy that goes with the forms that you are going to use. So my advice would be for you to state in employment policies as clearly as possible what deductions are taken from an employee's check, and also your policy, for example, which number was it? Your policies for number 3, which is company loans. If your company does make loans, personal loans to its employees, you need to state your policy on that. If your company is retail and it uses store credit for employees, you need to state your policy on that. Don't just think that you can have this one form and it's going to solve any issues you have as it relates to wage deductions being authorized by an employee. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about business operations, business management, human resources, and other topics related to running a business, click on one of those play links. Click on one of these click on the playlist.
One eternity later.
Click on one of these playlists. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe.